Welcome back to Fixing My Faith. This section is called JW World News. And today we are talking about the Watchtower in bed with the Catholic lawyers, I guess. I mean, I know my thumbnail said something different. They hired the Catholic lawyers. Here in the studio it says in bed with the Catholic lawyers. I think they're all in bed together, quite honestly. But remember, folks, this is an opinion piece. I deliver news and I throw in my opinion. So always take an opinion with a grain of salt, I guess. So here's my opinion is that XJWs, it's time to speak up. And I'm going to go through a few things. I'm not going to get into any detail, but we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on between the Catholic Church and the Jehovah's Witnesses. And on this channel, we like to give you the rest of the story, stuff you'll never see on jw.org, and things that are not put together all at once. So what we do as creators, we put together pieces, and because I was in the Jehovah's Witness religion for 30 years, and I have lost, I have a lot to do on this channel. So that's what this channel is all about. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's not a scary channel. We have great lives Saturdays and Tuesday nights, and we have a really good XJW community that attend our lives, are very loving people, and we invite all to attend. Now today we are talking a little bit about some old news, and I'm going to throw that up on the screen here. Authorities charged 5 more in the probe of child sexual abuse, the Pennsylvania case, right? So the point that I want to bring out here today, and we all know the district attorney here, Michelle Henry, and she's the one that's dealing with this. And we're going to go all the way down here to the point I want to make out of this article, and it's right. I had it highlighted. Yeah. Now, attorney Matt Haverstick, who has represented Pennsylvania congregations in the state's investigation, did not immediately return the call for comment on Friday. So it's well known that Matt Haverstick is the lawyer for the Jehovah's Witnesses in Pennsylvania. And that's what this article brings out. Now, I want to move on to Haverstick, who, what kind of a lawyer he is. And he's one of these, he sounds like a really nice guy, actually. Now, this is off the NPR site. I ran this on one of my previous videos. And Matt Haverstick is here talking. And pay special attention to what he says the churches have to do. Remember, in New Zealand and Australia, Jehovah's Witnesses do not want to apologize to the victims, because as soon as you apologize to the victims, now you assume responsibility. You're guilty, right? You don't apologize if you're not guilty. So now they signed up to apologize, excuse me, in New Zealand and down in that commission. Why? Well, because they're losing, the commission said, well, you're going to lose the charity rights. You can't be a charity if you don't deal with and you're not responsible. So now we see that the governments are working, it seems to, that they're helping to bring some of this to light. Well, Matt Haverstick talks about apologizing, and now he's a lawyer for the Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't want to apologize. They don't want to admit anything. They want to stand behind the 2-witness rule, that they've done everything according to scriptures, when we all know that they've missed it completely. Like, everyone's showing them that. But listen to Matt Haverstick.
But these victims, many of them are still alive.
Okay, I'm going to turn that back on for you.
It's a church that doesn't exist anymore.
released a report. It detailed the results of an investigation into the sexual abuse of children by Roman Catholic priests in 6 of the state's dioceses. The report found that more than 300 priests had abused children, and there were credible accusations by more than 1,000 victims. Matt Haverstick is counsel for 2 of the dioceses included in the report, Harrisburg and Greensburg, and he joins us on the phone from suburban Philadelphia. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Haverstick.
Good morning. Nice to talk to you.
This report was appalling. We read about children being raped, molested, passed around by predator priests. You represent the people who led the diocese. How do they explain what happened?
Well, I think they start by apologizing for what happened. And
So that's what Matt Haverstick says. They should start by apologizing. Like that's what a good spokesman should say. A good lawyer should say that. They should start by apologizing. Like, there's too much evidence that they're all guilty. Like, they're as guilty as sin. Did you read the? This is just in Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania. She said we read about children being raped, molested, passed around by predator priests. And she says, the reporter says, you, Matt Haverstick, you represent these perpetrators. You represent them. And he says, well, I think they should start apologizing for what happened. And I think Matt Haverstick is telling the Jehovah's Witnesses the same thing. They're going to have to apologize because there's just an overwhelming amount of evidence. So the first step is for the churches to apologize. So when they apologize, it's an admission of guilt. And when we look at the scriptures, I'm not going to pull them up today. This is not what this is about. But when you look at the scriptures, what's the penalty for abusing children? What's the penalty for killing people? You see, Jehovah's Witnesses, the Catholic, like killing people unrighteously through the churches. What's the penalty? Here we have God's representative, God's house of representative on earth. In the residential schools, there's reports of the governments being involved, military experiments on the Indigenous children. Mass graves have been uncovered in this last few years. And the Pope came right up here to apologize, just like Matt Haverstick said they have to. So who else is apologizing? We're going to go over to... another church that apologizes, the United Church. And it talks about the United Church in Canada, the church's apology, and their role in the Indian residential schools. They were all part of it. And it goes on to talk about it. But I want you, as the audience, to hear this apology. Here it is, this representative for the United Church. He says, long before my people journeyed to this land, your people were here, and you received from your elders an understanding of creation and of the mystery that surrounds us all that was deep and rich and to be treasured. No apology yet. That's just like a fluff statement. Like, what is he saying? He goes on to say, we did not hear you when you shared your vision. No, they came in and they produced, they colonialized all these tribes. And this is the problem with Christianity. This is what many of us are realizing when we wake up, is Christianity as a whole started from the Romans. That's all it was about, is colonialization. And we live in a time that's not supposed to be allowed, that there's a separation between religion and state. And here they came in and colonialized these communities, destroying them, or ripping the children from the families and hauling them off to a residential school in some part of Canada. And the family never, ever again seen their children. No answers, no nothing. They just never seen their children. The families didn't deserve an answer. The church is higher up. It's close to God. This is the kind of bullshit that we've been under. Now, we're under the same thing with the Jehovah's Witness. We're dealing with the same stuff. They don't want to pay for the abuse that they have done. Now, here's some real thick abuse. And this is how they apologize. He goes on to say, in our zeal to tell you of the good news of Jesus Christ, we were closed to the value of your spirituality. Yeah, they colonialized them. We confused Western ways and the culture with the depth and breadth and length and height of the gospel of Christ. Don't bring Christ into this, religious people. You see, you guys should bring Satan into this because you do the works of the devil, your father the devil. And that's what Jesus said of the religions of his day. You do the works of your father the devil. Now, this devil of a United Church spokesman says, we imposed our civilization as a condition for accepting the gospel. As a result, you and we are poorer, and the image of the Creator in us is twisted. Well, of course it's twisted and blurred, he says, and we are not what we are meant by God to be. We ask you to forgive us. You know what? There's no forgiveness. There is no forgiveness to the United Church to any of these. And I'm Indigenous by blood. My Indigenous roots go back. So I can speak for the Indigenous people. I can speak somewhat. But there is no forgiveness to these churches. That's the lamest apology the United Church could give. Shame on you, United Church. Now, you want to know what the Catholics are doing? Here's what the Catholics are doing. How the Catholics avoid paying millions in reparations for the residential schools. During its final, and this is old news, but I'm just going to read this. During its final weeks in office, the previous conservative government reached a dealing allowing the church to walk away from most all of its obligations. And this is what our government does here. And that's why this stuff has to go to Supreme Court. We're not done. We're not done with the Pope coming up and apologizing and then walking away and flying back to his place and forgetting about all this. Here's how the churches apologize, folks. This is a Catholic church here in Canada, and this is real. It says the churches apologize, read apologies given by the churches of Canada. Now, I'm going to the CBC one. This is the CBC one. Where is their soul inside the failed push make Catholic Church pay for its residential school abuses? Church officials say that they tried their best but could only raise a fraction of $25 million promised. Okay, here we go. Here's the problem. You see this, folks, behind me? Saskatoon Catholics raised $28.5 million to build this cathedral in 2012. While a written promise to compensate residential school survivors was largely ignored, critics say. The story was similar across Canada. So here we have the Catholic Church doing what it normally does, all tax-free, and they take all of this money and build this cathedral, and they give nothing to the residential school survivors. Well, let's read on. It says residential school survivor Rick Daniels and his wife, Judy Greers, live in a small apartment just a few kilometers from Saskatoon's towering $28.5 million Holy Family Cathedral. The cathedral features solar-powered stained glass windows, a carved granite altar, seating for 2,000 people, and a steel cross that sits 53 meters above the ground, dominating the suburban of the Prairie skyline. The church opened in 2012 following a massive multi-year fundraising campaign. So here we have all these people that are forgotten about from the residential schools, all of their kids. They never seen their kids again. Never seen their kids again. And they're supposed to accept that. What would you do if the government came in and took your kids, threw them into a school, and you never seen them again? And you lived on, you're 70 now, you're getting old, and nothing. And the Pope comes up and apologizes, no repayment. Or what if you were one of the kids? What if you got put into that school, you got abused by priests, all kinds of weird things going on in the school. You watched a lot of your friends disappear. You know, they got put into a ward and they didn't feed them for days. These were military experiments that were going on here in Canada. I'm going to do a video on this and read some of this at a later date, but there was terrible atrocities happening. And it was all covered up until recently it was uncovered. You see, folks, we're in the time of the awakening. And people are waking up out of religion. They're waking up out of all of this stuff that went on in front of us. Canada's a young country. And this stuff is not that old. These schools are not that old. The 60s, they were put down in the 1960s. This is not that old. So Roman Catholic churches and across Canada also signed an agreement promising to raise $25 million to compensate Daniels and tens of thousands of other survivors for the emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, malnutrition, cultural shaming, and systemic violations of basic human rights suffered in Catholic-run residential schools. They were told to take the Indian out of the child at all costs. And they took it, literally, said Daniel, 73, a member of one of the tribes who attended St. Michael's Indian Residential School north of Saskatoon. The $25 million part of the sweeping Indian Residential School Survivors Agreement was supposed to help survivors and also provide counseling and support for their families. But most of that money was never raised. This is what's happening, folks. The reason I'm bringing this up, this lawyer, Matt Haverstick, he knows how to work it. We're going to listen to him a little bit more. Let's see what he says here. He's flowery, and this is how these lawyers work.
And they have. I mean, bear in mind, it is awful. It's a horrible read. It's shocking, but it is, by and large, as the grand jury found, literally from the last century. That's a church that doesn't exist anymore. The church today is deeply sorry for those events, but they don't do things that way anymore.
It is a church last century, but these victims, many of them are still alive. And there's no way for them to get recourse because the statute...
I'm sorry, I had my mic off. I'm going to leave it on. Hopefully we won't get reverb. But yeah, the lawyer is flowery, Matt Haverstick. And, he tries to make it look like this was, the last century, back when the Romans were around, but it isn't. You see, the article we read, the fellow was in the residential schools in Canada here, 1960s. It's this generation. It's not yesterday. It has to be dealt with. The Vatican. You see, what Matt Haverstick wants to do is stop people from entering the Vatican's purse. But the Vatican has to open up its purse, or the Pope is really not sorry. The Pope's a hypocrite. He's a liar. He's a bold-faced liar, just like the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're using lawyers like Matt Haverstick to pass their bold-faced lies. So the Pope, a bold-faced liar, the governing body, bold-faced liars. And their spokesmen are doing theocratic warfare strategy. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a book, and we've showed this on other videos, where they teach their elders and their circuit overseers to lie. And they teach them to do things that they call theocratic warfare strategy. You can lie in court. So this is what the courts have to know. We brought this out in some videos as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Most of us, or some of us, know these things. We know where to find them. And this is all coming to light. And I believe we're living in a time that if there is a God, I believe there is. And I believe he or she, let's call God she. God gave birth. That's kind of like a woman, right? God gave birth to everything. So let's just go with God, he or she. When God decides that enough is enough, enough is enough. And I think we're in that time period. I think, folks, enough is enough. And there's enough of us out there that are inspired to bring this stuff out and to show the public really what's happening and why they're using the Catholic's lawyer, the Jehovah's Witnesses, because he has a method of making this yesterday and not blocking all of the payouts. The Vatican has to open its pocketbook, or the Pope is a bold-faced liar. And I'm going with the fact that they're all bold-faced liars. They're all part of Satan. Satan is the father of the lie. So if the Pope wants to get up and tell a bold-faced lie and doesn't want to help the people, he is of the father of the lie. To me, he is working for Satan. The governing body does the same. They are working for Satan. The United Church gets up and gives that kind of an apology. That man is working for Satan. Now, you guys are all in these religions, and you all think you're working for God, but if the blind follows the blind, and the pit's deep. So I don't know if there is a pit. Your book, the Bible, says there is one. So if you believe it, the pit's deep, and you're following Satan into it. So what can we do? People are asking me every day, what can we do? What can we do? I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness, so here's what I think we can do. And I think if we all get together and do it, we can make a big dent into what's happening. So we can go around. I'm going to take myself off the screen. These are stickers. We should have them on our website soon. And different sizes. You should be able to get them in 100 lots. Different kinds of stickers. Stop child abuse. It's important to put the word "do not call" on a door if you really want Jehovah's Witnesses not to call. So the rule book says in their religion that if you're a do not call, then they should send an elder back once a year to check to see or someone should check in once a year to see if you're still living there. So what you do, if they come back once a year and you have the sticker up, you come to the door and you tell the Jehovah's Witness, look, I got a sticker on the door here. And if you come back, I'm phoning the police. This is a violation of my privacy. Don't knock on my door again. Don't come up my sidewalk again. And by the way, Jehovah's Witnesses will say, well, we don't know if you're going to sell the house. Say bullshit. Call bullshit on that. Because if the homeowner wants that sticker, when I sell my house, if the homeowner wants that sticker on his window, he will leave it. I'm cleaning all the security decals off my window because, he might have to make his own deal with the security company he wants to work with. So the security company actually comes down if you cancel account and they clean their decals off their window. So the new homeowner may decide, no, I want that. Everyone knows that Jehovah's Witnesses hide pedophiles. It's all over the news. They don't want Jehovah's Witnesses at the door, and they don't know how to stop them. But you see, we're from the inside, and we know how to stop us. See, if I went to the door and it said, do not call Jehovah's Witnesses, I have to respect that, or else I can be charged. And they do tell you that. If there's a do not trespassing sign, and you're making it specific, Jehovah's Witnesses, you don't want them on your property. So I think that's important. If you guys all want to do something, I think that's what we have to do. We have to get out there and we have to talk to people, maybe go around our neighborhoods. And maybe that's how we help the neighborhood. And the neighborhoods can contribute. The stickers have a cost. Who the heck wants Jehovah's Witnesses and pedophiles in their yards? You see, if you can get your whole neighborhood with stickered up, Jehovah's Witnesses now are having neighborhoods cards, like whole territory cards, do not call. And they have to start throwing these territory cards away because they can't call. It puts Jehovah's Witnesses out of business. And maybe their only place is on the streets, I don't know, until governments pass laws. There's laws that can be passed, and it's you guys as the citizens that can make these laws. So I know on private little communities, if you're in a 50-plus community, you meet once a year at the community headquarters, and you have a voice. And you can bring up, do not call. We don't want Jehovah's Witnesses. We don't want pedophiles in our neighborhoods because they have no way of identifying pedophiles. That's what it is. It's not that they're humans. Pedophiles are humans, but they have a sickness and a disease, and Jehovah's Witnesses are not helping them. They're hiding them and putting them back into the field ministry. So we have to be careful as citizens. And we want to make sure that these, I'm against all these religious organizations. They're all charities, and they're all stealing off us as a taxpayer. And the sooner we can get them all off the charities, the better it'll be for humanity. There should be equality. So why should one group not be able to get the same privileges as the other group? And they're giving these groups like the Catholics and the United Church and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons, and the list goes on. They're giving them all charity status, no taxes. And they're building $28.5 million cathedrals, just a waste of space and architecture. For what? To stretch out over the prairies, to say I'm the Catholic Church and I'm the biggest and the best and look at me? You see, God's going to strike that stuff down. It's all crumbling, folks. And my opinion is now is the time to get out of her. Get out of organized religion. You can worship Christ on your own. The rules are really that simple, is love. Love your neighbor, do good things. If you want to do something, go down to the food bank and help some people where you're really helping people. Well, that's my opinion, folks. That gives you perhaps an inside story or the rest of the story. These are things that you'll never get on JW.org. So, folks, if you haven't already subscribed, we invite you to, and share and like, and join us in our campaign to help move society to a higher level of consciousness. A level of consciousness where we don't need religious control. We don't need these religions claiming that they know the truth and only by supporting them can we get to heaven. You see, this is all fraudulent. These are all lies. And we know Satan's the father of the lie. And it's very evident in this time that we are living that this is all crumbling. So join the fight, and until next time, live your life with love. Bye for now.